Offer me money. Offer me power. I don't care.
So you just don't care.
Elon Musk just leaked the final secret the US government has been trying to hide from all of us. This is not just some conspiracy, it is the answer to all the questions the people have been seeking for. I mean, have you ever found yourself wondering what goes down behind the closed doors of the US government? Seriously, can the president really call every single shot? Or is there some unseen force lurking in the shadows pulling the strings? Musk's revelations push us to rethink everything we've been led to believe about the democratic process. Let me explain. What's happening? This tech mogul has recently unleashed a barrage of statements, suggesting there's an entire subtext behind the US government that many of us might be completely oblivious to. Welcome to the captivating realm of the deep state. Ever wondered what lurks beneath the polished surface of democracy? He's drawing a vivid picture of an intricate web of influence, one that definitely raises some eyebrow-raising questions about who's really orchestrating the show. Is the president truly steering the ship, or merely a puppet on a string gliding along for the ride? How do lobbyists, special interest groups, and entrenched bureaucracies impact the decision-making process? Well, let's take a moment to peel back the layers and break down the concept of the deep state. What exactly does that mean? Essentially, at its heart, it's about the idea that there are shadowy forces operating within our government, possibly shaping crucial decisions away from the prying eyes of the public. Elon Musk's eye-opening claims about the way the US government purportedly manipulates its presidents paint a strikingly dark image of a system. According to Musk, the tools and techniques utilized in this control are nothing short of sophisticated, designed to keep the leaders in check and make sure they stick to the directives set by an elusive group often referred to as the deep state. Now let's talk about the concept of constant surveillance. It's a real jaw-dropper. Every president is under 24 hours a day, 7 days a week watch, meaning that even the highest official in the nation isn't truly free from the all-seeing eyes of the government. Can you imagine that? Each conversation and decision is being scrutinized as if it were some far-fetched reality show. This relentless surveillance isn't merely about implementing security measures. It's more about creating a chokehold on presidential actions, ensuring they never veer too far off the preordained path laid out by their unseen puppet masters. And then there is psychological manipulation. Now, this is where it gets especially juicy. Musk asserts that a cadre of behavioral experts is busy crafting subtle narratives aimed at steering presidential decisions. This idea implies that the government could be unleashing a covert form of psychological warfare to influence the minds of the commander-in-chief, implanting notions that effortlessly seep into their consciousness. Imagine a scenario where these carefully engineered nudges can pivot a leader's policies without them even being aware of it. That's the kind of mind-bending manipulation that would leave even the most seasoned spies raising their eyebrows in disbelief. But wait, there's more. Musk goes on to propose that inside the president's inner circle, there are indeed loyalists who are in on it, always primed to guide discussions in accordance with this hidden agenda. This paints a rather concerning portrait of a web tangled in deceit, suggesting that even the most trusted advisors could be working against the president, undermining the trust and independence that should ideally characterize the institution of the presidency. Now, doesn't that just add another layer of intrigue to the whole situation? But has this happened before? Well, yes, kind of. It is very hard to be certain about these things. After all, that is the whole point behind this. The deep state is not going to be official. Instead, it is all done in private, in the shadows. But after the shocking assassination of President John F. Kennedy in 1963, public skepticism about government transparency started to rise quickly, leading to lots of conspiracy theories surrounding the deep state. One of the most compelling historical examples that highlights the influence of the deep state is the military-industrial complex, a term brought to the forefront by President Dwight D. Eisenhower during his farewell address in 1961. Eisenhower didn't just throw around words, he issued a powerful warning about how the tight-knit relationship between the military and defense contractors could lead to policies that prioritize profits over the welfare of the public. A shocking study from 2018 by the Institute for Policy Studies revealed that the top 5 defense contractors raked in over $150 billion in government government contracts. Seriously, this raises big questions about just how much military interests are steering national policy decisions. Eisenhower's caution from decades ago still rings true today, as the military-industrial complex continues to flex its muscles, often pushing for military interventions that benefit corporate interests rather than what's best for the people. It's a chilling thought, isn't it? And let's talk about the Church Committee hearings in the mid-1970s, which peeled back the curtain on extensive CIA operations, revealing a world filled with domestic surveillance and attempts to influence political outcomes. For example, the CIA's involvement in the 1953 coup in Iran is a classic case that illustrates how intelligence agencies can operate outside the boundaries set by elected officials. This totally aligns with Musk's idea of a deep state, where powerful government entities pull strings and manipulate political outcomes without facing any real accountability. Then we have the infamous Iran-Contra scandal, which occurred during the Reagan administration and serves as another glaring example of deep state dynamics at play. In a twist worthy of a political thriller, senior officials covertly facilitated arms sales to Iran, which was under an arms embargo, so they could funnel money to the Contra rebels in Nicaragua, all without Congress having a clue. Can you believe it? This covert operation, which was exposed in 1986, clearly showed how some elements within our government can sidestep democratic processes to pursue their own agendas. The fallout was immense, leading to serious political ramifications and raised crucial questions about the autonomy of the presidency. Musk's remarks about psychological manipulation echo here, revealing how these officials seem to execute a calculated game plan to influence US foreign policy while avoiding any accountability to the electorate. But let's fast forward to September 11th, 2001, which marked a significant turning point in the relationship between the US government and its citizens. This was a tragic day, but it also opened the floodgates for expanded surveillance capabilities through agencies like the National Security Agency. This new reality is like a real-life echo of Musk's claims regarding presidential surveillance, as the extensive reach of intelligence agencies raises questions about not just the privacy of the public, but also the autonomy of elected officials. In a revealing 2019 report, the New York Times illustrated how the intelligence community's power has burgeoned to the point where it now operates with considerable autonomy from the executive branch. This fourth branch of government, as some scholars have dubbed it, poses critical questions about who truly holds the reins of power in Washington and whether the president can really govern effectively without being interrupted by deeply entrenched bureaucratic interests. It's a challenging landscape we're facing, but what are the implications exactly? Let's break it down. A 2021 Gallup poll revealed that a mere 25% of Americans reported having a great deal or quite a lot of confidence in the presidency. That's a significant drop from the past. Musk's allegations could further aggravate this worrisome trend, creating a scenario where people might feel their votes are meaningless and that the outcomes are all predetermined by some shadowy network operating behind the scenes. It's a scary thought, right? Musk's revelations also pack a punch when it comes to US foreign policy and the intricate web of international relations. If the president isn't actually the ultimate decision maker, it could throw a wrench into the gears of diplomacy, cultivating a climate of confusion and mistrust among world leaders. Take a look at a 2019 Pew Research Center study. It showed that the US is viewed less favorably by its allies and partners compared to previous years, and this realization could put even more strain on those relationships, as other nations might start questioning the legitimacy and consistency of US policies. Now, think about the potential ripple effects as trust wanes and uncertainty grows. What does that mean for the United States' standing on the world stage? The more we ponder Musk's assertions, the more we uncover layers of complexity that affect not just our democracy, but our global relationships as well. It's a dark, tangled web we're navigating. So what can we do? How do we tackle this alleged deep state? Well, transparency should be our frontline defense when it comes to combating the deep state by declassifying documents, exposing the inner workings of intelligence agencies, and illuminating their operations. We can empower the public to demand accountability. Now, let's be real, this isn't an easy task. Elected officials who choose to confront the deep state often face significant pushback. Just look at the challenges the Trump administration encountered while wrestling with the intelligence community. It's a rocky rocky road, but one that must be traveled if we want real change. And to know how hard this task is, we don't have to look that deep. I mean, just look at what happened to Edward Snowden. In 2013, Snowden, an ex-National Security Agency contractor, stepped into the spotlight as a whistleblower by leaking classified documents that blew the lid off the far-reaching global surveillance programs run by the National Security Agency and its partners. His revelations were eye-opening, showing just how much the US government was spying on its own citizens, amassing huge troves of data through initiatives like PRISM. This particular program allowed the National Security Agency to sift through the content of emails, chats, and other forms of communication from major tech giants without breaking a sweat. A report from The Guardian highlighted a chilling fact: the National Security Agency could dive into extensive surveillance on live communications and stored info. No court approval needed. The aftermath was monumental. The Snowden effect took hold, sparking an increase in public awareness and a significant backlash against unchecked government surveillance. A Pew Research Center survey from 2014 revealed that 54% of Americans felt that the government's anti-terrorism actions had gone too far, infringing on civil liberties. But the revelations didn't come without a price. The US government filed charges against Snowden for espionage and theft of government property, forcing him into a quest for asylum in various nations. After a stopover in Hong Kong, he found temporary refuge in Russia, where he's been ever since. In 2020, he gained permanent residency, and 2 years later, he officially became a Russian citizen thanks to a decree from President Vladimir Putin. Regardless of the serious charges looming over him, Snowden has consistently argued that his choices were driven by a desire to serve the public interest. In a 2019 interview, he expressed a powerful sentiment: "We live in a better, freer, and safer world because of the revelations of mass surveillance." His bold disclosures ignited substantial reforms in US surveillance policies, culminating in the enactment of the USA Freedom Act, which put the brakes on some of the National Security Agency's more invasive data collection practices. Now we can't all be like Snowden, but we have a powerful tool in our arsenal: legal action. Lawsuits can be a dynamic way to fight against the deep state by gathering solid evidence of illegal surveillance, manipulation, and overreach. We can bring these practices to court. And let's not forget how crucial an independent judiciary is to this fight, one that stands free from political pressure. The 2013 Snowden leaks, those revelations about the National Security Agency's mass surveillance programs, showcase just how imperative legal challenges are in exposing the deep state's hidden activities. But you know what else is essential in this battle against the deep state? Public awareness and active civic engagement. We need investigative journalism and academic research to illuminate the deep state's activities for all to see. Remember, a well-informed citizenry forms the backbone of a strong democracy. It's on us to demand accountability from our elected officials and the unelected bureaucracies that wield so much power. But let's talk about the elephant in the room: money. Let's talk about it. Money as control. It is like the lifeblood of the deep state, and if we really want to challenge it, we need serious legislative actions to cut off that cash flow. Introducing strict limits on campaign contributions, boosting transparency around political donations, and implementing public funding for campaigns could level the playing field and diminish the influence of special interests. The 2010 Citizens United vs. National Security Agency Supreme Court decision, which opened the floodgates for corporations and unions to spend unlimited amounts on political campaigns, serves as a glaring demonstration of the urgent need for legislative reform to tackle the deep state stranglehold on our political system. When financial interests and political power intertwine, it creates an environment where elected officials might end up serving unelected elites, ultimately undermining the very foundation of democracy. Money has long been a key player in American politics, but its influence has reached astonishing heights in recent decades. Thanks to the Supreme Court's 2010 ruling, what followed was an explosion of super PACs and dark money groups operating beyond traditional campaign finance laws, enabling a small cadre of wealthy individuals and corporations to wield an outsized influence over elections and policy decisions. According to the Center for Responsive Politics, spending on federal elections has soared. A staggering over $14 billion was splashed out during the 2020 election cycle alone. The sheer influx of cash creates an atmosphere where elected officials might be more inclined to cater to the interests of their financial benefactors rather than those of the everyday citizens who entrusted them with their votes. This scenario perfectly aligns with Musk's portrayal of a hidden elite pulling the strings from behind the scenes. The American political Political Science Association estimates that the lobbying industry cokes up about $3.5 billion every year to sway legislation in their favor. This substantial spending allows corporations and special interest groups to mold policies to suit their needs. Take, for example, the pharmaceutical industry. It's a heavyweight in the Washington lobbying arena. In 2020 alone, they shelled out more than $300 million on lobbying efforts, successfully shaping legislation that impacts everything from drug pricing to healthcare policies. With this kind of financial clout, it's no wonder we find elected officials who might be more responsive to lobbyist demands than to the voters who put them in office. A study by David E. Lewis from Vanderbilt University reveals that the president has considerable sway over agency budgets, particularly those aligned with their administration's priorities. This discretionary power can act as a double-edged sword. Sure, it allows presidents to push their agendas, but it also opens the door wide for financial interests to shape those very priorities. Musk's narrative about the deep state and its grip on presidential decision-making is tightly woven with the reality of money in politics. The combination of campaign financing, lobbying, and economic conditions crafts an intricate web of influence powerful enough to overshadow the democratic process itself. But what about Musk? He got money. I mean, he is one of the richest people in history, so what is he doing? Now, this is one of the most powerful people on the planet, which some perceive as being one of the deep state influencers. Is he really? Well, I will leave that too, but his strategy is nothing short of a spectacle. In a buzz-filled gathering at billionaire investor Nelson Peltz's luxurious estate, Musk rubbed shoulders with a lineup of wealthy conservative financiers like Steve Wynn and John Paulson. During this exclusive meeting, Musk dropped a bombshell. He believes the next election could be the last truly democratic one in America if President Biden emerges victorious. He called on these influential financiers to adopt a grassroots strategy to boost Donald Trump, emphasizing the importance of personal connections over the usual glitzy political advertising. This approach signals Musk's sharp grasp of the intricate power dynamics at play. By rallying these influential figures to mobilize their personal networks, he hopes to create a ripple effect capable of transforming the political landscape in Trump's favor. This grassroots angle stands in stark contrast to the traditional reliance on massive advertising campaigns, showcasing Musk's intent to shake up the established order of political influence. But let's dig deeper. Musk's political activities are not only about ideology, they're tightly intertwined with his business interests too. Companies like Tesla and SpaceX rely on substantial government contracts and regulatory decisions that can be significantly swayed by the political environment. By aligning himself with Trump and other conservative leaders, Musk positions himself strategically to secure favorable conditions for his enterprises moving forward. For instance, take Musk's advocacy for deregulation in the electric vehicle sector. It perfectly complements the broader Republican agenda aimed at trimming down government oversight. This savvy alignment not only allows Musk to wield his political influence effectively, but also creates spaces conducive to his business ambitions, while directly challenging the entrenched political order. Now let's talk about public perception, because Musk's entry into the political arena raises fascinating questions about the legitimacy of his influence. According to a Pew Research Center survey, around 70% of Americans feel that wealthy individuals wield too much power in politics. By positioning himself as a champion for grassroots efforts, while simultaneously cashing in on his wealth and connections, Musk navigates a precarious landscape that many might see as hypocritical. Moreover, his alliance with Trump and the broader conservative movement invites a flurry of debate regarding the repercussions of his influence on our democratic institutions. Critics worry that his actions could undermine public faith in the electoral system, further embedding the dangerous idea of a deep state covertly manipulating political outcomes. Then there's Musk's ownership of Twitter, now rebranded as X. This platform gives him a powerful megaphone to amplify his political reach. With nearly 200 million followers, Musk can mold public discourse and sway voter opinions at lightning speed. His activity on social media hasn't been shy. It's filled with narratives that resonate with his political stance, including claims about the deep state and supposed conspiracies tied to the Democratic Party. For instance, after a recent high-profile shooting incident, Musk's endorsement of Trump spurred a wave of discussions across Twitter, with terms like deep state and Antifa skyrocketing in popularity. This dramatic shift in online discourse showcases Musk's unique ability to influence the narratives consumed by millions, highlighting how financial clout can morph into genuine political capital. Some might look at all of this and think that he is like the new Snowden, but some might look at it as his way of gaining more power. But the thing is, if he wants to bring change, he also needs to strengthen his power, right? It is intriguing to say the least. So what are his intentions? In order to truly understand his intentions, you need to know about a man called George Orwell and his book, 1984. On it, Orwell paints a picture of a world where the all-seeing Big Brother governs every aspect of life through relentless surveillance, propaganda, and a continuous rewriting of history. Elon Musk himself has pointed out chilling parallels, arguing that the expansive surveillance methods exposed by whistleblower Edward Snowden are strikingly similar to the ever-watchful eyes of Big Brother. Snowden's story fits right into the dark themes of 1984. In this dystopian narrative, the government's surveillance strips away privacy and individual freedoms, placing citizens under constant watch. Snowden's revelations about mass surveillance programs echo Orwell's vision of a society manipulated by an all-powerful state. And let's unpack the idea of thought crime, Orwell's term for punishing independent thought. We see this eerily reflected in today's cancel culture, where anyone daring to voice dissent or challenge the mainstream is often met with harsh backlash, social ostracism, or professional backlash. This environment creates a chilling effect on free speech, much like the oppressive atmosphere of Orwell's world, where the thought police crush any hint of nonconformity. In 1984, the party's slogan, "War is peace, freedom is slavery, ignorance is strength," captures the essence of the concept of doublethink, where contradictory beliefs coexist. This mental juggling act enables the party to warp reality and control what citizens think. By rewriting history and altering facts, they ensure everyone stays compliant and blissfully ignorant of the truth. Fast forward to today, and social media plays a massive role in distorting reality. The overwhelming flow of information online leads to a chaotic landscape where truth can get lost amid a sea of misinformation and fake news. In this context, independent thought faces an uphill battle, as citizens are conditioned to swallow the party's ideology without batting an eye. This loss of autonomy is mirrored in our social media platforms, where targeted ads and content manipulate our emotions and shape our behaviors. Algorithms tailor users' feeds based on past interactions and preferences, reinforcing what they already believe while blocking them from diverse viewpoints. A revealing study from the New York Times highlighted that these social media algorithms can create filter bubbles. In these bubbles, users are mainly exposed to information that aligns with their views, leading to an environment that stifles critical thought and breeds complacency. Much 1984, individuals today face similar challenges as they navigate a digital landscape riddled with social media's influence. Moreover, the urge to fit in on platforms like Twitter, before being X, often fosters self-censorship, silencing dissenting voices. The dread of being canceled or shunned for unpopular opinions creates a climate where many choose to remain quiet rather than face social backlash. This scenario mirrors Orwell's depiction of a society that doesn't just discourage independent thought, but actively punishes it. Now, Musk's mission to challenge the deep state springs from his conviction that the government is hell-bent on undermining personal liberties and the democratic process itself. He boldly draws connections between the systematic manipulation of truth in 1984 and what he perceives as the government's attempts to exert control over narratives surrounding critical issues like the COVID-19 pandemic and the contentious 2020 presidential election. In a candid tweet back in 2022, Musk declared that while our world is much better than the dystopia projected in 1984, it still bears vastly more surveillance than Orwell could have ever predicted. This statement resonates with Orwell's cautionary tale about the dangers of totalitarianism, serving as a reminder of the fragility of individual freedom. So, what's Musk's game plan for taking on this so-called deep state? He's advocating a grassroots movement that closely mimics the resistance strategies illustrated in 1984. This tactic recalls the way the resistance in 1984 disseminates their beliefs through personal connections and and good old-fashioned word of mouth. Musk firmly believes that by rallying a grassroots army, he can shake the deep state's stranglehold on power, ultimately aiming to restore the integrity of American democracy. But here's the twist. Musk's crusade against the deep state comes with its own set of risks. Detractors argue that his rhetoric dangerously oversimplifies Orwell's multifaceted ideas, brushing aside the specific historical backdrop that molded 1984. They emphasize that Orwell's work should not be seen as a mere endorsement of unfettered free speech. Rather, it's a complex exploration of the threats posed by unchecked totalitarianism and the urgent need to defend democratic institutions. But what do you think? Let's know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and see you on the next video.